Welcome back to the Resident Founder Podcast. I'm your host, Daniella, taking it behind the scenes as I'm building my own business called Payscope MD to make physician contracts easier to understand. In addition, I love to bring on guests who are doing amazing work outside of medicine. And today we have my co-resident, Joe. Joe, thank you so much for coming on to the Resident Founder Podcast. Tell the people who you are and how you got into medicine.
I kind of was like around it when I was in high school. Like I did lifeguarding and did some like CPR training, first aid stuff, but I didn't really get into it until I got to college. I was, the cliche kid who's like, oh yeah, I'm pretty good at science and I like talking to people. Maybe medicine would be cool. And then I got to college and I joined an EMS agency. And that's kind of when I got the bug for emergency medicine specifically.
Absolutely. That's super cool. And I actually did not know your mom was an ER nurse. So it makes sense in terms of the connection there. The next thing is obviously the reason I brought you on is you're a musician. So talk a little bit about your music passions and what you do and what you're a part of.
Oh, there was a scene there when we were kids. There was like this art gallery that would let us put on all ages DIY shows, which was a super, super good DIY is just do it yourself for anybody who doesn't know that. But DIY music is like a very like underground scene type of thing. And they were folks who were just willing to let kids go crazy. They were like, let's let these kids go out there. And then shortly into that, people were kind of starting to want to go their own ways. Like our bassist wanted to move to California. Our drummer wanted to go play heavier music. And our singer moved to Boston with his girlfriend. So it was kind of like a natural split at that time where we were like, okay, we're just going to be done with this. This was good. We fulfilled our contract to the label. We did our 2 records. We are kind of at a natural, but with that project that really required me to step up another level. So while I was making those videos and posting them online and getting ready to start this new project, I learned how to do my own production quite a bit. So I started working with Logic, which is a digital audio workstation or a DAW. And I just started ripping. So similar process is like, it's terrible at first. And nobody wants to hear the stuff that you were making when you first start making music in one of those things.
Think about like at 19, like you said, sophomore in college, just kind of like getting started with the whole process. Like I said, you're thinking medicine already. So probably on this pre-med journey and stage and like kind of get this record deal. I think the other thing too, when it comes to working with a label versus being solo, what are some of the benefits of like being part of like a record label group?
It is a lot more about who you know now. So it's used to be like you could get in a van and you could just play a million shows and you would all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but that would get you somewhere, right? Like I could jump in a van tomorrow and I could play shows for 30 days in basements across the country. And I would probably get some followers. I would probably sell some merch. I would lose so much money. So much money. And I probably wouldn't be able to tour again for a while because I would have to spend the next like 6 months of my life recovering from that. So we have chosen to be a little bit more picky about the shows we play for that reason. And being part of a label is helpful because it gets you contacts with other folks.
Totally get what you're saying, especially like you were just mentioning at the last piece of it. Like, I feel like nowadays you hear about like the viral stuff, whether TikTok, Instagram. And so you think that's the norm, but like the reality is like having somebody to kind of play a little bit of that middleman can really help in terms of getting your foot in the door, more contracts, more exposure.
I love meeting people through music. There's so many good folks out there. And I think if you like really streamline that and try to like view it that way instead of just trying to get on Instagram and make all of the other things happen, that's ultimately going to be more successful for you.
I think there's 2 takeaways that I kind of have from that. I think the first part is the authenticity piece that you mentioned. Like you have to be authentic in the way that you go about this, particularly in a space like music where people really support the mission or the goal or the people, to be honest. Like half the time the people I listen to is not because the music is good, is either because like I connected with something of that they posted. And that's what people take away. And then once again, like you're gonna be trying to find ways for people to pay their money to go to like a show, for example. So I think the authenticity is a really key piece. I think the second part that you mentioned too, that's a really good takeaway is like kind of like what I'm on this journey about. It's like personal branding yourself, right? Like people don't know you unless you put yourself out there, but it has to be in an organic way. So like you said, you kind of have have to know the different avenues that you're going into, whether it's Instagram and trying to figure out how can I be more authentic to my viewers and gain some viewership there, TikTok, LinkedIn. And it's the same thing I think in medicine as well too, where like now every doctor, medical student, we have this whole term of med influencers for this reason, right? Like everybody's trying to like create their own type of branding and trying to create their own following to hopefully convert in some type of way or manner.
Hmm. And it's funny that you so like personal branding, right? Like I feel like that it like comes into the real world so much too, right? Like you have an online persona, but can you make it consistent with who you are as a person, right? And that authenticity piece of it. And I do think that that matters a lot, and it will matter even more in the coming years just because of how much AI generated content there is out there now. And I mean, I'm not against AI for like the purposes of, building, businesses and things like that, but I am very against AI in art. And that's like a very commonplace thing because it takes away from jobs, and it honestly it makes everything worse as a musician. It genuinely it makes everything worse. Um, but I could see a lot of the benefit on like the corporate side, and like if you are building a business and you're coding and things like that, like totally see the benefit of it. I use open evidence at work. I think things like that are great. Um, but there's a lot of folks out there who are using it as their primary way to generate art, and like there goes all of your authenticity, brother. It's gone. Um, and if someone in the music industry finds out you are using AI, you will be destroyed, destroyed, and rightfully so. Um, but that being said, rant over about AI. Sorry,
Totally fine.
but I don't even know what I was talking about. I just got so angry about that.
No, you were just talking about branding and like how different it is now.
Do have to post volume. We were doing pretty well there for a little bit, where we were posting every single day, but that just gets exhausting. It really does. So we're like a solid 3 to 5 times a week right now, I would say, plus stories. TikTok I have virtually given up on because I don't know what's happening over there right now, but I know it's not good. So we've just been mainly focusing on Instagram.
Well, I think also it depends on the platform too, right? Like there's certain content that works well on one platform, but just doesn't hit well on the other. Like for me, like I have a TikTok where I kind of post more of the behind the scenes and things of that nature. It works really, really good for short form content, but my longer form content, even if it's video related, actually does the best on LinkedIn.
Content creation and then personal branding is uh I don't feel like I'm probably not using my own personal Instagram to its maximal ability. I should be on there posting more. I just have spent all of my energy on the Taking a Live page and growing that in our circle, and just everybody grows, everybody wins, right? But the other aspect of growing that community that I've been thinking of was just posting the demos that I write for our stuff, because it used to be like, oh, let's be super secretive about all of this. But now I'm kind of like, who cares? Just put it out there, because there's so many artists that I follow that do that. They post whatever they want on their own personal that they write, and people are like, "Oh, when is this going to be available to stream?" Like, right.
Yeah. I think it's also a constant battle for myself too of like figuring out the boundaries of how much do I want to post, right? Like on a personal level, like I also agree, like I don't use my personal Instagram. I think I only use like 4 posts is on there on my personal Instagram, and that's it. Like I consume a lot through it, but I don't personally post because I think I'm stuck in this battle of like how much do I want to post out there to gain followership and like create a community, but at the same time it's still my life. And I also think that like you as well, we're both physicians as well, and we're just very much under a microscope, unfortunately. And I just actually made a TikTok video about this because I don't know if you saw the drama about a medical student who made like a lot of like comedic TikToks and got like reprimanded by his school. And he's like a fourth year medical student. Match is about to happen in a week, and who knows how this is gonna play out for him. It led to like this whole social media debacle in terms of like how we should go about social media as physicians, no matter what stage of the process. And I think that's the reason I also struggle in terms of creating content because I also understand at the same time too that I hold different titles, right? I'm a doctor, author, podcaster, and so many other things that I think unfortunately in medicine, we just don't get the same leniency to create and
Hmm.
be creative compared to like other counterparts. So I think that's the other part that's always like a struggle.
Yeah, I know I agree with that because it's like, and that's kind of part of the reason I was so worried about creating content for the band when I started, right? I was like, well, I don't want to put out anything that like could be considered. I mean, not that I like really say anything offensive on it, but I don't want to put something out there that could make me look undesirable when I'm applying to residency.
I feel like that's a common question for you. You're technically on tour or gearing up to go on tour. You have a LP coming out the end of this month with your band Taken Alive. How do you balance this all? You're recording, you're writing music, and you're a busy resident.
Yeah. So I mean, I would say the number one thing is that I built this team before. This is we started this the beginning of med school, right? So I am coming into this with 4 years of building, and I work with awesome, awesome people. I am the only doctor in that group of those awesome, awesome people. It's all about trying to match those times. And that is where it gets difficult, right? Because it's like you don't always have control over that. But sometimes I can see, 6 months out, I know I'm going to have a rotation that I'm going to be on 9 to 5, right? I know that I'm going to have a little bit more time in the evenings to set aside towards music for that. And knowing what you're willing to do to make stuff work. Like, I mean, when we were on orientation, I played like a weekend tour from Philly to go on a hike with you guys on like a Sunday morning. I was exhausted, but I didn't care because I love both of these things so much.
I think also as well, like you mentioned, like these stuff are fun. Like, like residency is hard. Don't get me wrong. Very, very hard. But like when I'm on shift, I have fun. Like I love working with you guys. I love the attendings we work with. As Joe mentioned before, we are at a really, really, really good program that like is okay with being creative, authenticity, and really prioritize wellness. Like Dr. Price is probably listening to this right now because she
I love it.
subscribes. And so like shout outs to her and Dr. London, our PDs and APDs, of allowing us to have these outlets because it allows us to be sane, Like people are like, how the heck you're doing a podcast and running pretty much a tech business? It's like it's fun. Like it honestly challenges a different part of my mind so that I don't burn out. Because I also agree, if I don't have these things, I probably would be sitting on my couch, eating potato chips, and just binge watching YouTube and TikTok, which granted I still do, but like it's
Sure.
much different. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
it's much
yeah.
different. So like I love what we get to do and still have the ability to kind of have a different outlet for ourselves.
Yeah. No, and I mean, I really think a lot of that is dependent on like our specialty too. Really, like I love everything about emergency medicine.
Hmm. I agree because I even said to myself, I was like, we're 7 months in, and it's like, knock on wood, but it hasn't been that bad. There's been, yeah, it's been like, there's been some times, like I said, I have MICU coming up, so I know I won't have a life then. But like, other than that, like, I'm like, there's been some bad shifts, but like, it hasn't been that bad to where I still can do other things. And so that's more on me if I didn't get those stuff done. So I'm like, yeah, I think we're in a really good spot. So I think I agree. I think once again, it's about priorities, having a system in place to allow you to do the things that you want to do. And once again, just be authentic in what you do and not be chasing money, clout, attention, especially in this day and age of social media. I think I was gonna say there's probably a lot of other ways to probably make some money nowadays. Maybe probably do like like the dancing TikToks instead. Yeah, probably so. Joe, as we close, talk a little bit more about Taken Alive, your upcoming EP that's dropping, and where people can find you and your band.
3 dates there in May, and then we've got a couple more dates that month that are opening up too.
So I'll make sure for people who are listening on YouTube and via audio, I'll link all the links for Joe and his band in the description down below, and we'll put all the social media handles there as well. But Joe, thank you so much for joining me on the Resident Founder podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been a blast.